I need you to hate so I can use you for your hate.
This is Real Sales Talk. Real sales advice from real sales practitioners. Giving you tips on how to dominate your sales quota are your co-hosts, Sean Mitchell and Phill Keen.
We don't have a process for referrals at most companies. I go into a company, I say, what's your referral process? They have no, well, what do you mean?
I think that goes back to the premise of why do salespeople suck at prospecting. I mean, number one reason why they suck at prospecting is they don't actually do it.
If you are successful and nobody knows, in 2016, 20, 2025, you're not successful.
You ever want to find out what's going on in the company? Get in the car and spend a day with the top 3 salespeople. You'll find out in 5 minutes.
Because you can't be a trusted advisor without 2 things, trust and advice. I mean, you need both of them.
What is going on, Real Sales Talk family? We have an awesome episode today with one of Sean and I's favorite sales leaders there is, Trish Bertuzzi. Trish, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, and I'm going to say it on the air. Happy birthday, Phill.
Thanks, Trish.
Happy birthday, Phill. Happy 30.
Yes.
Thank you. So we have an amazing topic. We're going to get right into it. Trish has got some things to do. She's a busy woman, so we're really appreciative of your time. We're going to talk account-based approach to the sales and marketing and what maybe people are doing or not doing right and the way they think about it. So Trish, right? Give me your initial. I read a post from you. It was account centric versus account based and why it's different.
Yep.
Let's start there, and then I think they're gonna have some questions.
Okay. So it's a little confusing, and I see a lot of comments and posts like, "Oh, this isn't new. We've been doing this for years," and I'm here to tell you, no, you haven't. Not if you're doing it right, right? So here's where the confusion is, and I'm going to make it as simplistic as possible because I'm not that smart. When I talk to people about account-based, they're like, we're doing it. I'm like, all right, what are you doing? They're like, we've taken a set of accounts, we've drawn a box around them, we're marketing to them, and we're having our SDRs call multiple people in those accounts. And I'm like, okay. That's just good old-fashioned outbound, and you should have been doing that since, I don't know, 2004 or whatever, right? That is not what this whole account-based selling movement is about. And it is a movement, and it's in its infancy, and we're all still figuring it out. And I sure as hell am no expert, though I do spend every day studying the damn topic. But let me give you my vision of what a real account-based strategy is. An organization, not sales, not marketing, an organization sits down and says, okay, we're going to go get revenue out of this very specific set of accounts. And the number varies. It could be 400, it could be 1,200, it could be 1,800, but what it can't be is like 5,000. I mean, it's a finite set of accounts. And you've picked them with some level of intelligence, not just the AEs popping them on a list or the biggest, but you've picked those set of accounts for a very specific set of reasons. And then your entire organization, your board of directors, your CEO, your AEs, your SDRs, your marketing people, your CMO, your CFO, everybody says, okay, how are we going to get to engagement with this set of accounts? And the place you start is you start looking for relationships. Who's got relationships we can leverage? You know, that's awesome. The next thing you do is develop a set of plays. And a play, you know, you've seen it in football, right? All the X's and the O's and the lines that are going like this. I don't quite know what they mean, but it's a play. So every single person on the team knows their roles. They know how to run that play, and they know what their job is. So then you start to put the play in motion. And it might be your board of directors know somebody on their board of directors. So they start the call that way. Or it could be your VP of products went to college with their VP of products. It might start that way. Or it might start with direct mail, or it might start with an event, or it might start somehow. But what you're doing is creating this really strategic, orchestrated set of activities that makes you rise above the noise of what everyone else out there is doing and gets that account to say, hey, I want to talk to you. That's what I think AB strategies, and it can be ABM, ABE, ABS, I don't care what you call it. I call it ABR, account-based revenue, because if it don't result in revenue, who cares, right? So I call it ABR, but you get where I'm going. That's what I see, and that's different, right? That's different than what we've ever done before. So it's new, it's evolving, and I think it's super exciting.
So who owns that internally if you're looking at it in the approach of this account-based world? So there's not ABM or AB, and I know it's everybody's involved, but who quarterbacks it and organizes it all internally?
Okay, so that is an excellent question. So there's design and then there's coordination. So who designs it is the sales and marketing team, probably the sales and marketing executives or representatives thereof. They're the ones that get together, figure it out scientifically, strategically, who are those accounts, and start to orchestrate these plays. Who executes it? So it's like, it's an orchestra, right? Or a dance troupe that's beautifully choreographed, but there's still someone behind all that. I think that's still the AE, because the AE is really the one with the finger on the pulse of what's going on at that account. So it's the AE that really has to make sure that it's going well, we're not stepping on each other, our message is cohesive, we're getting the results we want. They still own the relationship, and at the end of the day, they're still going to own the sales process. So they are the maestro of the orchestra, or the lead choreographer, or whatever you want to call it, but it still comes back to sales.
I can hear our listeners thinking who this is their first time hearing this sort of account-based strategy. Why it sounds intensive to involve the entire organization.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to our listeners about why it's important to get buy-in from top down.
Because a couple of reasons. Also an excellent question. You guys are good. So ABR is not for everyone. It's not for every single scenario. If you're selling into the SMB, you don't need this. If you're selling into mid-market, where you're a commodity, your sale is transactional, you don't need this. ABR is really for those companies that are selling into the enterprise, and or where your price point is over $50,000, and or sometimes when you're selling to innovators and early adopters. You don't have to have all your eggs in one basket. You could be a company that's selling to SMB and selling to a mid-market. Hey, hell to the yeah, still go execute your demand generation strategy. And then maybe you do ABR in the enterprise. So I think what you have to figure out is, what are we trying to accomplish in certain market segments? Are we ever going to get an ROI for going upstream, bigger deals, and making it worth everyone's time to get involved? And then you figure out what your strategy needs to look like.
So
I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, I think you did pretty well. To piggyback off Sean's, I think it's one of the biggest problems I see that exists for people that go to an account-based approach is that transition from, this is the way we used to do it.
Yeah.
This is the way that I've always been able to generate revenue, to, all right, we're going to get hyper-focused. And you really go all in with the ABR that you're talking about, which is all in, all executives, all teams, everybody's in.
Yep.
We even potentially build product around what we're building and going to market against. How do you make that transition? Because that is a massive, massive investment.
It is. And that's why you don't make it all at once. You don't go, hey, we're demand gen, everybody's selling this way, and then go, okay, now we're ABR. You can't, right? Because you just can't move that ship that quickly. So what we recommend is that, I hate the word pilot project, I call it launch. Maybe you launch a couple plays, you pick your set of accounts, you pick your players, and you launch a couple plays, and really start to get the sense of, what is the level of effort involved? Are we getting different results? Is this working for us? And then you start to determine, because no one's going to get it perfect the first time out of the gate, but you start to figure out, maybe if I tweak this, did this differently, called in different resources, sent different content, had different events, whatever, you figure it out, but you don't take the wheels off the revenue bus by just making this transition to ABR. That would be crazy.
Can you dive into some of the tactics? What exactly is involved? Again, I want to kind of take it from the angle of this account-based selling or marketing is new to me. Let's say you've got buy-in from the organization from the top down. What does that look like from a tactical standpoint? What does that involve? How does someone get started with that? Where do they start?
Dude, you just set me up to pitch. Okay.
Perfect.
The best thing they could do would be to hire the Bridge Group and use us for our ABR launch service.
Love it.
Where we go in on the sales side and our marketing partner Inverta goes in on the marketing side, and we get you sales ready, help you pick your target accounts, develop your first couple plays, assign roles and responsibilities, build the playbook, you name it. But that aside, now I lost the question. Look how excited you got me that I got to pick.
You got your opportunity.
Wow. I jumped right on it.
Okay, let's say a company knows they want to jump into this account-based approach.
Yep.
Tactically, where do they start, or where are some of the places that they need to start to get that aligned?
Okay. I think it starts at the beginning. That's a big duh. But you have to think about what you're what's your end game, right? Bigger deals, different size organizations, or is it new logos? Is it customer expansion? ABR can be extremely powerful in customer expansion, right? If you have that land and expand strategy where your first deal is the smallest and then you want to expand from there, ABR is a thing of beauty for you. But where you get started really is at account selection. And there are a million tools out there. There's a whole crop of technologies that have popped up that help you do predictive selection, scientific selection, buyer intent selection, you name it. But that is really, data is always the foundation of successful selling. Nobody likes to hear that because they think, selling is so sexy and data is so boring, but that is the solid foundation for this selling effort, as in any others. Great account selection, great data. That's where everybody begins. And a great story to tell. That's the other thing that ABR requires, is a great account-based story. That's why the segmentation of those accounts is so important. You can't go across 52 verticals. You pick some segments of your market where you can show them that you're innovative and relevant and interesting and something's going on in their industry and you're aware of it and you can address it. So lots of thought has to go into that account selection process. That's where people start.
Here's a question I have, because this is even something we've internally tried to figure out what the right number is. So when I'm assigning accounts to a rep, is it 25? Is it 100? Is it 500? How many accounts can I give to one person where they're just over capacity and they can't focus?
See, but that's the whole thing. You're not giving it to that one person, right? It's not their job, like it was in the demand generation days, to go get into that account and launch the sales process. That's why you've got the plays. That's why this whole strategy is in place. There's a lot of different activities that are going to happen in that account. So they're not just sitting there going, oh my God, I have 200 accounts. I have 5 people to call on each account. How am I going to get through that? That's not what it's about. It's about, using a variety of tactics to get that company to engage with you. And then once they do engage proactively or reactively, then you launch the sales process. So it's a different way to think about it. But if you're going to do ABR, I would say it really depends. It really depends on how you're going to use the resource and what support they have. Did that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
because feel free to call me out.
No, I think it does. It makes sense to me for sure. Because if you're thinking about, I think that was kind of backing up the the first question I asked you, which was, all right, who quarterbacks it, who designs it, who runs it? And I think it's an interesting way to think through it. I've been calling them recipes internally. You call them plays, but just, hey, there's actions. When an action happens, there should be a reaction that we know basically it's already pre-programmed, that we can go out and know that this converts to whatever your conversion would be, whether that's an opportunity that you're generating with a meeting set, or it's getting a second player involved, or whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of recipes or plays that you're calling them that you can go out and run based off of what actions they're doing and what's happening. So it definitely makes sense.
Okay, good.
Okay, so you've got buy-in from company-wide across the board.
Yep.
You've identified your core group of accounts that you want to start focusing on.
Yep.
Where's the next place that an organization goes? Do they start dividing out responsibilities or taking the least path of resistance and working with the account executive who owns that account? What happens?
Okay, so now you've got your set of accounts. So you got your target, right? Now you need a story to tell that target. So let's say in our target segments, and I would probably start with no more than 2 segments, so that means 2 stories. Let's say we selected a set of accounts that are in the entertainment industry. So what is the bigger story we can tell at the account level? Not at the buyer persona level, we'll still do that, but we'll do that post-engagement. Pre-engagement, you tell an account story. What's going on in the entertainment industry? Let's see, the cable providers are dying because of streaming. The streaming providers are going crazy competing with each other, right? Spending money hand over fist doing original content, right? To put old-fashioned television, I don't know, whatever the account story is, that needs to be thought through and developed. Because if you're just like everyone else and you're just sending the same old messaging, hey, Mr. CFO, we can help you run reports faster and whatever, that's not going to cut it. But if you can say, hey, Mr. CFO, we totally understand the pressure you're under from streaming, eating your market share. We have some great research on that very topic. We'd like to share it with you. Are you willing to engage with us? Or you get where I'm going. I think the next thing you have to develop is the insights and the account story that shows you're not just like everyone else. That's why ABR isn't for everyone, because not everybody has that story. If you're selling into the laggard space or you're a commodity, you're transactional, yeah. You can do account-centric selling, right? What I talked about before, you still should pick your target accounts and run demand gen against them, but maybe you don't want to do account-based selling.
So we get this content. Who's helping develop? So this is obviously an account approach. Yeah. Are you creating it? The marketing team goes all in and builds stories, and then the AE grabs those stories and tells the stories, or is the AE responsible sometimes for? No.
Now there's a ton of tribal knowledge, right? Your AEs have a ton of tribal knowledge, so you definitely want to pull information out of them. I also think marketing needs to go off and do research on the topic. You know, John Barrows, who doesn't know and love John Barrows? He's brilliant, right? He gets his account-based or industry-based stories. He hires Hourly Nerd, and you should see the stuff they come back with. Mind-blowing, right?
Great.
So what I'm starting to say to clients is don't panic. Come up with your premise and go to Hourly Nerd and have them do the heavy lifting. They're going to get you all the research. Then you just have to turn it into the story. So I don't think we have to put that burden on our AEs. I don't think we also have to put it on our marketing team, which probably has a million other things to do. But we do need the data with which to write the story.
So would this strategy not work for someone who's a new company just starting off? They have little to no customers. This sounds like it would be more the strategy that they would need would be more of an account-centric selling. Is that correct?
I would say so. The other thing I say to startups when I have the opportunity to speak with them, and I spoke to them a lot last week because I was at SaaStr, but I would say the most important thing for a startup is to have as many conversations as possible. Because startups are going into the market thinking they know who their ideal customer profile is, but they're not 100% rock solid. So the more conversations you can have, the faster you're going to figure out, A, is this in fact my sweet spot? And B, does my message in fact resonate with them? So I say go forth and chat it up with anyone who'll talk to you if you're a startup, because you need those conversations to figure out those critical success factors.
Once that startup or that young early stage company matures a little bit, grows the customer base, and decides that they want to go upstream, then that's when they need to talk with you or start thinking about this account-based strategy, correct?
Well, I think, let's get real, Sean. Every single technology company in the B2B space in North America should be talking to me.
Love it.
Right? I do way more than just account-based, but and now once again I lost track of the question because I started to see where I go. I just
so at that point when an early stage is maturing, an early stage company is maturing,
Yep.
and they decide that they now want to go upstream.
Yep.
That seems like the appropriate place to start focusing on this account-based strategy.
If going upstream means your deals are over roughly $50,000.
Where does that number come from? I'm just curious. Have you
I
just
totally
pulled that
made it
out of
up.
thin air?
I totally made it up. I'm going to be honest with you. I totally made it up because, and the reason I made it, and I think it's an important, and you know, there's no science behind it as there typically is with our numbers, but I just feel like if you're going to have that level of orchestration and intensity around a very specific set of accounts, and you're going to be calling in multiple resources, not just throwing your SDRs and AEs against it, you need a decent ROI to make it worthwhile.
And I suppose it would probably be rather a percentage of an account. I mean, if your average deal is, you know, $750,000, $50,000 might seem a little bit small.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, we have a client that has their entire universe of target accounts is 400, right? But their deal size is multi-million dollars. So for them, this was a no-brainer. You kind of just got to figure out, is this my only strategy? Is this part of multiple strategies I'm executing? And if it is, and I think more times than not, it's going to be part of multiple strategies. I think where marketing's going to go is they're going to have demand generation and they're going to have account-based marketers, and nobody's going to do it all, or few people are going to do it all if they really go into execution mode with both of these. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where marketing goes with this.
This kind of starts to move into, I think, some of the specialization that you're a pretty big fan of. If I remember correctly in your book, you talk about how, you know, segmenting the roles really makes a big difference in a company.
It does. Yeah. And this will apply in the marketing organization as well, without a doubt. I think we're going to see account-based marketers really specialize, really develop a unique skill set that they bring to the table that maybe demand generation is something totally different.
It's interesting. One of the things you said earlier that really resonated with me is going out there and getting as many conversations as you possibly can.
Yes.
What I find that is just overlooked often from everybody, and really not just even the account-based, is the CMO, the CRO, the vice president of sales, or whoever, the BDR or the SDR that's sitting there calling every single day. They actually don't talk to the customer as much as they should. They don't sit down and have the conversation to understand these are the problems that exist in your world, and this is what we give you. And then they go out and create messaging in a vacuum that think that this should work broadly to everybody. Yeah. And they're not speaking to one person. So that it's a point I wanted to make, not necessarily a question, but if you have anything additional on that type of topic, I'd love to hear your view.
Yes, of course I do. So I'm a huge fan of call recordings, right? And everyone focuses call recording on helping the reps improve. And if you do it right, and there are some amazing technologies out there that actually allow you to do it right, like you can tag parts of a call, like if they say a competitor's name, or if they mention a feature, or if they, I don't know, say the word budget or whatever. If you have a call recording and you're tagging those conversations and you want your CMO to hear how people are reacting to either a message, or you want your VP of products to hear how people are reacting to a new feature. Like, I would kill for LinkedIn to have a conversation with their customers about that new user interface. Right? I don't know anyone who loves it, so I wish they were listening, but there are so many ways nowadays for senior executives to hear actual customer and prospect conversations that not taking advantage of it is just folly. It's just crazy. So executives, listen to those calls.
Tools.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a few,
Yeah.
you've kind of danced around a few tools. Can you recommend any that are going to help expedite this decision or process of focusing on account-based selling and marketing?
Right. So, I have my ABR service, and I do it with a marketing company called Inverta. And when they started educating me on the technology landscape, it is ridiculous how many players are now in the ABM space. So there are 2 infographics that I've seen recently. One was by Forrester on the ABM landscape, and they put them into different categories like intelligence versus engagement versus, I don't know, there's 5 or 6 categories. So I thought that was really good. And then I think it was today or yesterday, I downloaded another infographic that's kind of the same idea by Knowledge Tree. So there's probably on each of those 50 companies that are now targeting the ABM space. So it's a huge technology landscape, and you really have to figure out what you're trying to accomplish before you start thinking about tools.
So you mentioned plays earlier. What's the most often overlooked play? So there's a lot of technology that can help you run these plays, but what's the play that you think people don't take advantage of enough in this ABR world?
Customer expansion. We're always so focused on new logos, on greenfield accounts, on getting new business, that I think we forget that our customers do want to hear from us, do want to engage with us, are willing to buy from us if they're happy. And if they're not, we better find out sooner as opposed to later. So I think customer expansion is an overlooked area for ABR.
Awesome. Trish, this has been incredible. Like quick 25, 30 minutes, all about account-based.
And I get to pitch twice. Yay!
I know, and I'm about to give you a third opportunity here. So if people want to connect with you, they want to follow what you're doing, they want to inquire about your services, where can they go to do that?
Okay. So website is bridgegroupinc.com. Literally the most interesting part on the website is our resources page, where we publish a ton of research, as well as our blog, where we talk about all things contemporary. You can email me at trish@bridgegroupinc, or if you just want to follow me to see what I'm talking about, it's at bridgegroupinc on Twitter.
Amazing. Trish, thanks again. We really appreciate you being on for episode 5 of season 5 of Real Sales Talk. Our audience is going to love this one. They're going to eat it up. I know it. So we look forward to having you on sometime in the future to continue some of these conversations and dive more in depth. But for
it would be
this
my
episode,
pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And Real Sales Talk, see you on the next episode.